Public humiliation sparks defiance. Isaiah Carter's palms sweated, gripping his violin on the auditorium stage, 500 eyes piercing him. Mr. Holt, his music teacher, smirked. "You'll never play like us, boy." The white classmates' laughter stung worse than a slap. Forced to perform as a prank, Isaiah's bow danced, unleashing a soul-shredding melody that hushed the room. Holt's grin vanished, rage flaring. A tomato splattered Isaiah's chest, venom in its arc. Would this moment ignite his fight, or break him forever? Before we dive deeper, let me know where you're watching from. If you stand for justice, hit like and subscribe, because tomorrow's episode will blow your mind. Rising tension. Isaiah Carter's fingers trembled as he scrolled through his phone in the dim glow of his bedroom, the memory of the tomato's wet smack still burning his pride. The auditorium's silence after his violin sang. 500. Jaws dropped. Should have been his triumph. Instead, Holt's twisted scowl and that hurled fruit branded him an outsider. By midnight, his performance, captured by a classmate's shaky camera, exploded online. Posted on a local music forum, the clip racked up 10,000 views in hours, comments flooding in. "Kid's a prodigy," one read. "Mozart reborn in Ohio," another gushed. Isaiah's chest swelled, a rare warmth cutting through the shame. His mom, Tanya, a nurse who'd worked double shifts to buy his violin, burst in, eyes wide. "You're famous, baby," she laughed, pulling him into a hug that smelled of hospital antiseptic. She'd seen the video shared on her co-workers' group chat, the hospital buzzing about her son. For a moment, Isaiah believed he'd flipped the script, turned Holt's cruelty into his victory. But school the next morning crushed that hope. The hallways of Westbridge High, a squat brick building in suburban Ohio, hummed with whispers. White classmates who'd laughed now stared, some with awe, others with envy. Isaiah kept his head down, violin case slung over his shoulder, its weight a shield. In music class, Holt stood at the front, his thin lips curled like he'd bitten a lemon. The teacher, a wiry man with graying hair and a tie too tight for his neck, didn't look at Isaiah. Instead, he addressed the room, voice sharp. "Some people think they can steal the spotlight with tricks." The word tricks landed like a slap, and a few students snickered. Isaiah's stomach knotted, his fingers tightening on his desk. Holt continued. "The orchestra doesn't need disruptions. Carter, you're out." Gasps rippled. Isaiah's heart plummeted, the room spinning. The orchestra was his lifeline, his chance to prove he belonged. He opened his mouth to protest, but Holt's glare silenced him, cold as a blade. By lunch, the news spread. Isaiah sat alone in the cafeteria, picking at a soggy burger, when his best friend Marcus, a lanky junior with a knack for computers, slid onto the bench. "Holt's tripping, man," Marcus said, pushing up his glasses. "You shamed him, and he's salty." Marcus showed Isaiah his phone, where the video now had 50,000 views, shared by Cleveland music blogs. "You're bigger than his weak ego." Isaiah forced a smile, but Holt's words echoed. Tricks, disruptions. They weren't just insults, they were a warning. He felt eyes on him, kids at other tables whispering, some pointing. Ty Sr. in a Letterman jacket muttered, "Show off," loud enough to sting. Isaiah's fame wasn't just lifting him, it was painting a target on his back. Tanya didn't let it fester. That evening, she dragged Isaiah to a community meeting at their church, a small clapboard building where the air smelled of wax and hope. She'd posted about the ban on a neighborhood app, and folks showed up, outraged. Mrs. Jenkins, a retired librarian with a voice like thunder, called Holt a petty bigot. Mr. Dawson, who owned a music shop downtown, stood up, his bald head gleaming under the lights. "Isaiah, you're welcome at my store. Free lessons, best teachers we got." The crowd cheered, and Isaiah's throat tightened, gratitude mixing with disbelief. Tanya squeezed his hand, her calloused fingers steady. "Feo, keep playing, hear me?" she said. Isaiah nodded, the weight of Holt's ban lifting. Dawson's offer was a lifeline, a chance to sharpen his skills and show the world he wasn't a fluke. That night, he fell asleep, dreaming of soaring. Notes, not tomatoes. The next week, Isaiah walked into Dawson's Music Emporium, a cramped shop stuffed with guitars, sheet music, and the faint twang of tuning forks. The instructor, Ms. Rivera, a Puerto Rican violinist with a quick smile, listened to him play and whistled. "You've got fire, kid. Let's hone it." For days, Isaiah lost himself in scales and sonatas, his bow slicing the air like a sword. Ms. Rivera taught him to channel his anger into every note, turning pain into power. He practiced until his fingers ached, each session erasing a bit of Holt's venom. Online, his video hit 100,000 views, with comments from as far as Chicago. "This kid's headed for Carnegie Hall." Isaiah started to believe it. He wasn't just a black kid from Westbridge, he was a force unstoppable. But Holt wasn't done. A week into lessons, Isaiah arrived at the shop to find Ms. Rivera waiting outside, her face tight. "We need to talk," she said, leading him to a corner where guitars hung like silent sentinels. She showed him an email from Holt, sent to Dawson and the shop's donors. It claimed Isaiah's performance was a scam, that he'd used a pre-recorded track synced to his bow movements. The email cited technical analysis from a music expert and warned that supporting Isaiah would tarnish the shop's reputation. Isaiah's blood ran cold, his ears ringing. "It's a lie," he choked out, but Ms. Rivera's eyes were heavy. "I believe you, but Dawson's getting threats. Customers are boycotting." She paused, voice soft. "We can't keep the lessons going." Isaiah stumbled back, the shop's warmth turning claustrophobic. Dawson himself appeared, apologizing, saying community pressure was too much. He offered Isaiah a free string set, but it felt like pity, not support. Isaiah walked home, violin case heavy as a coffin. The streets of Westbridge, lined with tidy lawns and American flags, seemed to mock him. Holt's lie had spread online. Comments now split. Knew he was faking it. Typical. Tanya was at work, so Isaiah sat alone in their cramped living room, the couch sagging under him. He watched the video again, his own notes soaring, undeniable. Holt hadn't just banned him. He'd poisoned his name, turned his talent into a joke. The shop's betrayal cut deeper than the auditorium's laughter, a reminder that even allies could crumble. Isaiah's fingers twitched, itching for his bow. He could quit, let Holt win, or fight harder. The choice was clear. He grabbed his phone, texting Marcus, "We're not done." Holt thought he'd broken him, but Isaiah's fire was just starting to burn. Escalation. Isaiah Carter's sneakers scuffed the cracked linoleum of the Westbridge Community Center, the air thick with the scent of old coffee and wax. His violin case swung at his side, a battered warrior after the music shop's betrayal. Holt's lie that he'd faked his viral performance still burned, but Isaiah wasn't folding. He'd found a new stage, the Ohio Young Artists Competition, a regional showdown with a $5,000 prize and a shot at a Cleveland Conservatory Scout's eye. The center's music room, a cramped space with peeling posters and a warped piano, became his sanctuary. Every night he practiced, bow slicing through Vivaldi and Bach, notes sharp enough to cut glass. His mum, Tanya, brought him dinner from her hospital shifts, her tired smile urging him on. "You're bigger than their hate," she'd say. And Isaiah believed her, pouring his rage into every string. Could he turn Holt's poison into his victory? The competition was 6 weeks away, and Isaiah threw himself into prep. He studied past winners online, mimicking their flair, and taught himself to sway with the music, letting his whole body sing. Marcus, his tech whiz friend, helped him film practice sessions, posting clips to rebuild his rep. "You're trending again, man," Marcus said, showing him a clip hitting 10,000 views. Comments poured in. "This kid's the real deal. Holt's a clown." Isaiah's chest loosened, hope creeping back. He submitted his application, a 10-page packet, with essays and recordings, dreaming of the stage's spotlight washing away the auditorium's tomato stain. But Holt, a shadow in his mind, wasn't silent. Isaiah overheard classmates whispering in the halls, Holt's name tied to cheater and trouble. Was the teacher watching, plotting? Holt was. As a competition judge, he held power Isaiah hadn't anticipated. Late one night, Isaiah got an email, "Application denied, ineligible." His stomach dropped, the words blurring. The reason? Incomplete documentation and suspected plagiarism in submitted recordings. Plagiarism? Isaiah's recordings were his, every note bled from his soul. He slammed his laptop shut, pacing his room, the walls closing in. Tanya, bleary from a 12-hour shift, read the email and cursed under her breath. "This ain't right," she said, dialing the competition office. The clerk stonewalled, citing policy, but Tanya's nurse grit didn't budge. She demanded a review, and Isaiah prayed she'd break through. How could Holt's reach be this long? This vicious? Marcus stepped up, his hacker instincts kicking in. Over greasy pizza in his basement, he dug into the competition's servers, eyes locked on his screen. "Holt's dirty, I know it," he muttered, fingers flying. 2 days later, he found gold, a digital trail showing Holt had forged a rejection letter and altered Isaiah's application, swapping his recordings for a generic track labeled stolen. Marcus sent the proof to the organizers, anonymous but airtight. The next morning, Isaiah's phone buzzed. "Application reinstated," the email read. "We apologize for the error." Tanya whooped, hugging him so tight his ribs ached. Isaiah grinned, relief flooding him. He was back in, Holt's trick exposed. The stage was his again, and he'd make it scream. Had he finally outsmarted his enemy? He hadn't. The night before the competition, Isaiah practiced late at the center, his bow carving a furious Tchaikovsky. He locked up at 10, stepping into the chilly Ohio night, streetlights flickering. His phone pinged, a notification from a local forum. His heart stopped. Someone had posted his home address, Tanya's little ranch house on Elm Street, with a message: "Cheaters don't belong here." The post had 100 likes, comments spewing slurs. "Run him out. Teach him a lesson." Isaiah sprinted home, 3 miles, lungs burning, fear clawing his throat. He arrived to chaos. Red paint coated the house, dripping like blood, spelling out "go back" and worse. Windows were smashed, glass glittering on the lawn. Tanya stood in the driveway, phone to her ear, calling the cops, her voice steady but eyes wet. Isaiah dropped his violin case, knees weak. The cops arrived, 2 white officers who barely glanced at the damage. "Kids, probably," one said, shrugging. "File a report." Isaiah helped Tanya board the windows, splinters pricking his hands. Inside, the living room reeked of paint fumes, their couch slashed, family photos torn. Tanya pulled him close, whispering, "We're tougher than this." But Isaiah's mind raced. Holt wasn't named in the post, but his fingerprints were everywhere. His rage, his reach. The teacher had turned Isaiah's home into a target, his family into prey. Cops did nothing, their smirks echoing Holt's auditorium sneer. Isaiah's viral fame, his competition slot, his defiance, all had provoked this. He gripped his violin, its wood warm against his palm. The stage was tomorrow. He could quit, hide, or play louder than ever. Which would break him first? Holt's hate or his own fire? Drop a number 1 in the comments if you think Isaiah should. Keep fighting despite the odds and hit like and subscribe to see his next move. Will the competition be his triumph or another trap? Heightened stakes. Isaiah Carter woke to the ache of bruises from boarding up his vandalized home, the stench of spray paint still clinging to his clothes. The Ohio Young Artists competition loomed, 8 hours away in a gleaming Cleveland concert. Hall 90 miles north. His violin, unscathed in its case, felt like his last anchor. Tanya, her nurse's scrubs rumpled from a sleepless night, brewed coffee and fixed him with a fierce stare. "You play today, Isaiah. Show them who you are." He nodded, throat tight, the slurs on their house flashing in his mind. Holt's shadow hung heavy, the teacher's sabotage exposed but his venom clearly alive. Could Isaiah step onto that stage and make the world hear him? The drive to Cleveland was tense, Tanya's old sedan rattling over potholes. Isaiah clutched his sheet music, Mendelssohn's Concerto, its notes a map through his fear. He'd practiced until his fingers cramped, each phrase a defiance of Holt's lies and the vandal's hate. At the hall, a glass-domed marvel packed. With 500 spectators, Isaiah felt small, the only black kid among 20 competitors. Backstage, he tuned his violin, ignoring the sideways glances from other teens in crisp tuxedos, their whispers, That's the viral kid. Heard. He's trouble. Stung, but he squared his shoulders. Holt was somewhere in the judge's booth, a predator behind glass. Would his presence poison the day? Isaiah's turn came third. He stepped into the spotlight, stage lights hot on his skin, the crowd a sea of pale faces. His bow touched the strings and he unleashed Mendelssohn, notes soaring like a storm. His fingers danced, precise yet wild, grief and rage woven into every measure. The hall fell silent, breaths held as he pushed the concerto to its peak, his violin singing of broken windows and unbroken spirit. When he finished, sweat beading his brow, the crowd erupted, clapping so loud the chandeliers shivered. Judges scribbled furiously, one nodding. Isaiah bowed, heart pounding, and caught a glimpse of Holt in the booth, face dark as thunder. Had he finally won? Backstage, a woman in a sharp blazer approached, her badge reading Cleveland Conservatory. Isaiah Carter. I'm Dr. Ellis, admissions director. That was extraordinary. We'd like to offer you a full scholarship starting next fall. Isaiah's jaw dropped, Tanya's gasp echoing beside him. A scholarship? To a top music school? He stammered. Thanks, his mind reeling. Dr. Ellis handed him a card, smiling. You're destined for greatness. Call me Monday. Tanya hugged him, tears smudging her mascara. And for the first time in weeks, Isaiah felt light, like he could fly. The vandals, the lies, Holt's ban, they hadn't stopped him. He'd conquered the stage, secured his future. Was this the turning point? It wasn't. As they left the hall, the evening air cool against Isaiah's skin, danger struck. A narrow alley separated the venue from the parking lot, and 5 figures emerged from the shadows, faces hidden by hoods. Their boots scraped the asphalt, voices low and vicious. You think you belong here, boy? One snarled, a racial slur spitting from his lips. Isaiah froze, clutching his violin case, Tanya gripping his arm. The men circled, one flashing a E, knife, another a bat. Holt sends his regards, the leader hissed. Isaiah's blood iced. Holt? The teacher had sunk to this, hiring thugs. Before he could react, the bat swung, cracking his ribs. He crumpled, pain exploding as fists and boots rained down. Tanya screamed, swinging her purse, but a thug shoved. Her against a dumpster, her head thudding. Isaiah crawled, shielding his violin, blood dripping into his eyes. Phones glowed. Bystanders filmed, none helping, their silence louder than the slurs. The attack lasted seconds, but felt eternal. A siren wailed nearby and the thugs bolted, leaving Isaiah gasping on the pavement, Tanya groaning beside him. He dragged himself to her, checking her pulse, her breathing shallow but steady. His violin case was slashed, strings dangling, cruel mirror of his wounds. Paramedics arrived, their radios crackling, and rushed them to a hospital. Isaiah's ribs throbbed, his face swollen, but he refused to let go of the case, its weight his only constant. Tanya, concussed but stable, squeezed his hand from her stretcher. We're alive, she whispered. He nodded, but his mind screamed, Holt did this. The teacher's hate had claws, and they'd torn deeper than paint or lies. By morning, the nightmare worsened. Marcus texted Isaiah a link, his message frantic. You got to see this. In the hospital waiting room, Isaiah opened it, his cracked phone screen flickering. A video of the attack, shot by those spineless bystanders, was everywhere. 2 million views in 12 hours. But it wasn't raw footage. Edited with slick cuts and ominous music, it painted Isaiah as the villain, a thug who'd provoked the fight. Text overlays screamed, Violent teen disrupts competition. Westbridge menace strikes again. Comments piled, up, thousands strong. Lock him up. He deserved it. Isaiah's stomach churned. The video's uploader, an anonymous account tied to a local hate group, its bio praising community values. Holt's hand was unmistakable, his revenge. A digital dagger. The scholarship, the ovation, the stage, all twisted into a lie branding Isaiah a criminal. Isaiah stared at the hospital's beige walls, monitors beeping faintly. Tanya slept in her room, bandaged but fighting. His ribs ached with every breath, his violin case scarred beside him. The conservatory's card was still in his pocket. Dr. Ellis's words, destined for greatness. Now a cruel joke. Holt hadn't just sent thugs, he'd weaponized the world against him, turning Isaiah's triumph into a trap. He could. Feel the city closing in, eyes judging, phones filming. Giving up would be easy, but Isaiah's fingers twitched, itching for his bow. Holt wanted him broken, but Isaiah's music was still alive. Could he fight a war where every win birthed a worse wound? False victory. Isaiah Carter sat in the hospital's sterile glow, his ribs screaming with every breath, the slashed violin case at his feet, a battered relic. Tanya's concussion kept her bedridden, her monitors beeping a steady rhythm, but her words echoed, "We're alive." The viral attack video, twisted to paint him as a thug, had racked up 3 million views, each comment a nail in his coffin. Holt's hate group had struck, and Westbridge's silence, cops shrugging, neighbors turning away, felt like betrayal. Yet Dr. Ellis's scholarship card, tucked in his pocket, burned with promise. Could Isaiah claw back from this abyss? Discharged after 2 days, Isaiah moved gingerly, his bandages itching under a borrowed hoodie. Tanya, still on leave, insisted they fight. "Holt's not God," she said, her voice hoarse but iron. Marcus, ever loyal, dug into the videos. Origins, tracing it to a hate forum linked to Holt's allies. Their group chat buzzed with ideas, but Isaiah felt the walls closing in. The conservatory hadn't called, and whispers at school branded him a problem. Then hope flickered. A local activist, Ms. Lena Brooks, a black lawyer with a reputation for dismantling bigots, reached out. Her email was blunt. "Saw the video. Holt's scum. Let's sue for defamation." Isaiah's pulse quickened. A lawsuit? Against Holt? Was justice finally in reach? Ms. Brooks met them at a diner, her braids tight and eyes sharper than a blade. Over greasy fries, she laid it out. The attack video, Holt's lies about Isaiah's performance, the vandalism, all pointed to a pattern of targeted racism. "We've got a case," she said, scribbling notes. "Defamation, emotional distress, maybe conspiracy if we tie Holt to the thugs." Tanya nodded, her nurse's pragmatism kicking in, but Isaiah hesitated. Suing meant war, dragging his name through more mud. Ms. Brooks leaned in, voice low. "You're not just fighting for you. Every kid Holt's crushed deserves this." Isaiah thought of the auditorium, the tomatoes sting, and signed her retainer, his hand steady. Could this be the strike that topples Holt? The lawsuit filed fast, headlines screaming, "Black teen sues racist teacher." Local news ran Isaiah's performance clip, countering the attack video's lies. Support poured in, donations to a crowdfunding page Marcus set up, letters from black musicians nationwide, even a tweet from a Grammy-winning violinist. Isaiah Carter's got soul. Keep playing. At school, some white classmates apologized, their guilt awkward but real. Others, Holt's loyalists, glared, muttering slurs in the halls. Ms. Brooks worked like a machine, subpoenaing Holt's emails and digging into his past. She found dirt. Holt had bullied other black students, forcing them out of music programs. The school board, under pressure, suspended Holt pending investigation. Isaiah walked taller, his ribs healing, the conservatory's promise gleaming. Had he turned the tide? He practiced again, borrowing a violin from a church friend, its tone thinner but enough to keep his edge. In Tanya's living room he played Mozart, notes dancing through the boarded windows. Dr. Ellis emailed, confirming the scholarship was still his, urging him to visit the conservatory. Isaiah grinned, imagining a future beyond Westbridge's. Hate. Ms. Brooks called with more heat. Holt's defense was crumbling, his lawyer scrambling. The community rallied, a vigil outside school demanding justice, candles flickering in the Ohio chill. Isaiah spoke, his voice raw. "I just wanted to play." The crowd cheered, and for the first time he felt Westbridge might stand with him. Was this victory real and lasting? It wasn't. 3 weeks into the lawsuit, Ms. Brooks asked Isaiah and Tanya to her office, a cramped space stuffed with law books and protest flyers. Her face was grim, lips pressed thin. "We've got a problem," she said, sliding a folder across her desk. Isaiah opened it, his breath catching. Pages of his hospital records, private, sealed, detailed his injuries, his panic attacks post-attack, even a note about emotional instability. The last page was worse, a forged psych eval claiming Isaiah was prone to violence and delusional. His hands shook. "How?" he choked. Ms. Brooks sighed, her voice heavy. "Someone leaked it. To the press, the school, the conservatory. And I got this." She showed an email from Holt's brother, a school board member named Gerald Holt, offering her $50,000 to drop the case. She'd refused, but the damage was done. The next morning, the story broke. A local tabloid ran the headline, "Teen Violinist's Mental Health in Question." The article twisted the records, painting Isaiah as unhinged, a danger to Westbridge. Online, the hate group pounced. Memes of Isaiah's bloody face captioned, "Crazy Kid." Dr. Ellis called, her voice clipped, "We're retracting the scholarship, character concerns." Isaiah's heart sank, the conservatory's door slamming shut. Tanya cursed, pacing, but Isaiah sat numb, staring at his borrowed violin. Ms. Brooks admitted the truth. She'd been tailed, her office bugged. Gerald Holt had bought her junior associate, who'd leaked the records. The lawsuit stalled, evidence tainted. Isaiah's allies wavered, the vigil's fire fading. Holt's suspension held, but his brother's influence loomed, a shadow bigger than one teacher. Isaiah walked to the community center, the night air biting his skin. The center's walls, once a haven, felt like a cage. He gripped the violin, its strings cold under his fingers. Holt's lies, the attack, the vandalism. Now, this betrayal stripping his future. Ms. Brooks vowed to fight, but Isaiah saw the cracks. Gerald Holt's money had turned his lawyer, his hope into ash. He could run, hide, let Westbridge swallow him. Or he could sharpen his bow, turn his music into a blade. The lawsuit was dead, but his fight wasn't. Drop a number 1 in the comments if you believe Isaiah's talent can outshine this betrayal, and hit like and subscribe to see his next stand. Will Isaiah's next move outsmart a system rigged to crush him? New threat. Isaiah Carter's fingers traced the scars on his borrowed violin case, the hospital's betrayal still a fresh wound. The leaked records branding him unstable had killed his scholarship and stalled the lawsuit against Holt. Tanya, back to work despite her concussion, found him slumped on their slashed couch, the boarded windows dimming their Westbridge home. "You're not quitting," she said, her nurse's grit cutting through his haze. Isaiah nodded, her strength a spark. The conservatory was gone, but his music wasn't. Could he rebuild from this rubble? Marcus, ever the optimist, had an idea. Over lukewarm soda in his cluttered basement, he pitched a crowdfunding campaign. "Your fans are still out there," he said, showing Isaiah's performance video, now at 5 million views despite the hate. "Let's get you a real violin, not that church loaner." Isaiah hesitated, trust bruised by Ms. Brooks's betrayal, but Marcus's grin was infectious. They launched the campaign that night, Isaiah recording a raw plea. "They took my future, but not my sound." By morning, donations poured in, $5,000, then 10, from strangers across Ohio and beyond. Comments flooded, "Keep fighting, Isaiah. Your music's louder than their lies." His throat tightened, hope flickering. Was the world finally listening? With $15,000, Isaiah bought a new violin from a Columbus luthier, a sleek instrument with a voice like fire. Its first notes, played in Tanya's living room, felt like coming home. Marcus, digging online, found a bigger stage, the Ohio State Youth Orchestra, a prestigious group auditioning in 2 weeks. "This is your shot," he said, emailing Isaiah the forms. Isaiah practiced relentlessly, his new violin singing Beethoven and Bruch, each note a middle finger to Holt's legacy. Tanya drove him to the audition, a 100-mile trek to a Columbus theater. Nerves churned, but Isaiah walked on stage, his bow steady. He played like the world was watching, notes soaring. Grief and defiance braided tight. The directors clapped, a rare smile breaking their stone faces. Days later, an email arrived. "Welcome to the orchestra." Isaiah whooped, Tanya dancing in her scrubs. Had he dodged Holt's shadow at last? He hadn't. Gerald Holt, Holt's brother and a school board titan, was watching. Isaiah returned to Westbridge High, his ribs healed but his guard up. Classmates whispered about the lawsuit's collapse, some calling him crazy behind his back. Then a new policy dropped, announced in a curt email. Students with disciplinary issues are barred from extracurriculars, effective immediately. Isaiah's gut twisted. The policy, vague but vicious, named no names, but its target was clear. Gerald Holt, his face plastered on school board posters, had crafted it to choke Isaiah's dreams. Orchestra rehearsals were extracurricular, tied to school approval. If Westbridge flagged him, his spot was dust. Isaiah fought back. He rallied classmates, black and white, who'd seen Holt's bias firsthand. At a school assembly, he stood, voice shaking but clear, reading the policy's fine print. Disciplinary issues include unverified allegations. It was a trap, letting Gerald smear anyone. A Latina girl, Sophia, spoke next, her story of Holt's slurs mirroring Isaiah's. A white kid, Jake, admitted he'd laughed in the auditorium but regretted it. The crowd buzzed, phones recording, and the principal, sweating, promised a review. Days later, the board paused the policy, citing community feedback. Isaiah's orchestra spot held and rehearsals began, his violin blending with 50 others in a Columbus hall. He felt invincible, the music a shield. Had he outmaneuvered Gerald's machine? He hadn't. A week into rehearsals, Isaiah arrived. At school to chaos. Cop cars lined the lot, lights flashing. The principal, flanked by 2 officers, called him to the office. "You're expelled," she said, voice flat. Isaiah blinked, the words unreal. "Assault," she continued, sliding. A report across her desk. It claimed he'd attacked a teacher, Mr. Reynolds, in the parking lot, witnesses swearing they saw him swing. Isaiah's head spun. Reynolds, a Holt ally, had never even spoken to him. The witnesses were Holt's star students, their stories, identical, rehearsed. Gerald Holt's signature was on the expulsion order, his board power flexing. Worse, the report flagged Isaiah for juvenile detention, citing his violent history from the leaked records. Isaiah stumbled out, violin, case banging his knee. Marcus met him, eyes wide, hacking into the school system on his phone. "It's fake," he hissed, showing doctored security footage of a blurry figure labeled Isaiah near Reynolds' car. The truth didn't matter. Gerald's lie was ironclad. Tanya, called from work, arrived furious, demanding a hearing. But the principal stonewalled, "Board's final." Isaiah's orchestra director emailed, regretful, "School expulsion voids your membership." His new violin, his stage, his fight, all ripped away. Cops lingered, eyeing him like prey, detention looming. Isaiah's hands shook, rage boiling. Gerald Holt hadn't just banned him. He'd branded him a criminal, caging his future. Tanya drove them home, the sedan's hum a grim soundtrack. Isaiah stared at the passing Westbridge lawns, their flags, mocking his freedom. The community center, his old haven, was a mile away, but it felt like another world. Gerald's policy, the expulsion, the detention threat, they were chains, each link forged by Holt's hate. Isaiah could run, vanish into Columbus's shadows, or fight a system that played dirty. His violin sat in the back seat, its case gleaming. Music had carried him this far, but now it felt small against Gerald's empire. Could Isaiah break free before the system crushed him for good? Desperate counter, Isaiah Carter's world shrank to the sagging couch in his Westbridge home. The boarded windows, a grim reminder of vandals and lies. Expelled, framed for assault, his state youth orchestra spot gone, he faced juvenile detention. Gerald Holt's trap snapping shut. Tanya, her nurse's eyes blazing despite exhaustion, refused to let it end. "We're fighting, Isaiah," she said, her voice a lifeline. His new violin, bought with strangers' donations, sat in its case, a silent challenge. Could he wield it against a system built to bury him? Tanya didn't wait for despair to settle. She called in a favor from a hospital co-worker whose cousin, a hacker named V, had a rep for cracking tough systems. V, a wiry 20-something with neon green braids, met them in a Columbus coffee shop, her laptop humming. School boards play dirty, she said, sipping black coffee. I'll dig. Isaiah, ribs still tender from the alley attack, leaned, vain hope flickering. V's fingers danced, pulling deleted emails and server logs. By midnight she had proof. Gerald Holt's assistant had planted the fake assault report, bribing witnesses with cash. The security footage? Edited with software tied to a Holt Allies firm. Isaiah's pulse raced. Was this the key to freedom? V sent the evidence to the school board, anonymous but ironclad, with copies to a local reporter who'd covered Isaiah's lawsuit. The next morning, chaos broke. The reporter's article, "Board Members' Fraud Exposed," went viral, naming Gerald Holt. By noon, the principal called Tanya, voice shaky. "Isaiah's reinstated. Expulsions lifted." Tanya whooped, hugging Isaiah until he laughed, pain forgotten. The orchestra emailed, welcoming him back, rehearsals resuming in Columbus. Isaiah gripped his violin, its strings warm under his fingers, and played a single, note sharp and free. Had he finally broken Gerald's chains? At rehearsals, the orchestra's hall felt like a sanctuary, 50 instruments blending in a roar. Isaiah's violin sang, his Beethoven crisp, earning nods from the conductor. Classmates at Westbridge, even Holt's loyalists, backed off, the article's heat too much. Marcus, grinning, showed Isaiah the crowdfunding page, now at $20,000, fans chanting his name online. Isaiah's unstoppable. For a week, Isaiah breathed easier, his music louder than ever. Tanya, working shorter shifts, cooked his favorite, fried chicken and collards, their laughter filling the house. The detention threat faded, cops no longer circling. Was this what winning felt like? It wasn't. Gerald Holt, cornered but cunning, struck back. Isaiah arrived at school to find lockers spray-painted with slurs, windows smashed, and "Carter's fault" scrawled on the gym wall. Cops swarmed, their eyes locking on Isaiah. The principal, now a Holt puppet, pulled him aside. "We found evidence." She showed a grainy photo of a figure in a hoodie, spray can in hand near the school at night. "That's you," she said. Isaiah's stomach dropped. The hoodie wasn't his, the figure too blurry, but a search of his locker revealed a can of red paint planted, its cap sticky with fresh drips. He stammered, "It's not mine." But the cops cuffed him, their grips bruising. Tanya arrived, furious, but the principal was cold. "He's a repeat offender." The vandalism rap wasn't just school trouble, it was a felony tied to thousands in damages. Isaiah's mind raced. Gerald had flipped the script, using the article's backlash to paint him as a vandal. The cops dragged him to a squad car, but Marcus, watching, texted fast, "Run!" Isaiah, uncuffed for a moment to grab his bag, saw his chance. Heart pounding, he bolted, dodging a cop's lunge, and sprinted through Westbridge's alleys, his violin case banging his hip. Sirens wailed, but he knew the streets, backyards, fences, shadows. He reached Marcus's basement, a damp hideout, smelling of mold and pizza. Marcus locked the door, whispering, "They're calling you a fugitive." Isaiah's phone buzzed, a news alert. Westbridge teen flees vandalism charge. The climax hit like a fist. Gerald Holt on TV declared, "Isaiah armed and dangerous," his board influence twisting the state police into a manhunt. A grainy photo of Isaiah from the attack video flashed, captioned "Violent Suspect." Rewards posted, $10,000 for his capture. Isaiah sank to the floor, breath ragged. His reinstatement, the orchestra, V's hack, all erased by Gerald's lie. Tanya was at home, cops watching her, unable to help. Marcus hacked a police scanner, hearing orders. Detain Carter, use force if needed. Westbridge, once his home, was a trap, every street a snare. Isaiah gripped his violin case, its weight grounding him. Gerald hadn't just framed him. He'd turned Ohio against him, a black kid with a bow, now a statewide threat. He could surrender, face detention, or run, fighting on his terms. His music had defied Holt once. Could it outlast this hunt? Drop a #1 in the comments if you think Isaiah should keep running to clear his name, and hit like and subscribe to see his next desperate move. Can Isaiah stay one step ahead of a manhunt rigged to destroy him? Breaking point. Isaiah Carter crouched in Marcus's damp basement, the air heavy with mold and fear, his violin case pressed against his knees. The statewide manhunt, sparked by Gerald Holt's vandalism frame-up, had turned Westbridge into a maze of sirens and suspicion. Branded armed and dangerous, Isaiah was a fugitive, his face plastered on every Ohio news feed. Tanya, watched by cops, couldn't reach him, her texts silent. Marcus, hacking police scanners, whispered, "They're closing in." Isaiah's heart thudded, the weight of Gerald's lies crushing. Could he outrun a system that hunted him like prey? Marcus had a plan. "I know people," he said, eyes glinting behind his glasses. Through a burner phone, he contacted the Black Justice Collective, a grassroots group known for shielding kids from rigged systems. Their leader, Jamal Reed, a former boxer with a voice like gravel, agreed to hide Isaiah. By midnight, Jamal's van, a beat-up rig smelling of oil, whisked Isaiah to a safe house in Akron, 60 miles away. The house, a sagging duplex tucked behind a tire shop, buzzed with activists, college students, ex-cons, teachers, all united against injustice. Jamal clapped Isaiah's shoulder, his grip firm. "You're safe here, kid. We've got your back." Isaiah exhaled, clutching his violin, its new strings a faint hope. Was this sanctuary real? The collective moved fast. They planned a viral campaign to clear Isaiah's name, using his story to expose Gerald Holt's corruption. A filmmaker, Aisha, recorded Isaiah in the safe house's basement, his face shadowed, but voice steady. "I'm no vandal," he said, holding his violin. "Holt framed me because I'm black and I dared to shine." He played a mournful Bach piece, notes trembling through the mic, each one a plea. Aisha edited it with clips of the auditorium, the vandalism, the alley attack, weaving a narrative of systemic racism. Marcus, linked remotely, uploaded it to platforms nationwide, tagged Dax Justice for Isaiah. By dawn, it had 1 million views, comments, raging, "Holt's a monster. Protect this kid." Donations poured in, $30,000 for legal aid, instruments, safety. Isaiah watched the numbers climb, his chest loosening. Could this tidal wave drown Gerald's lies? The collective became family. Jamal taught Isaiah to shadowbox, fists cutting air, channeling rage. Aisha shared her camera, showing him how to frame shots, sparking ideas for music videos. A coder, Malik, hacked local news sites, slipping Isaiah's story into their feeds. At night they ate potluck, collards, cornbread, laughter, planning rallies to pressure the school board. Isaiah practiced his violin in a corner, blending jazz with classical, his sound bolder. The safe house's walls covered in protest art felt like armor. Online, the campaign hit 5 million views, trending globally, with musicians from New York to Lagos tweeting support. Gerald Holt's name trended too, his board seat wobbling. Isaiah slept better, dreaming of stages, not sirens. Had he found a tribe to fight with him? He hadn't. 10 days in, the campaign peaking, Jamal called a meeting in the safe house's cramped kitchen. His face was tight, sweat beading his brow. "We've got heat," he said, showing a text from an unknown E. "Number, Carter's done. Surrender or burn." Isaiah's stomach knotted, the violin case heavy in his lap. Jamal swore the collective was clean, but Isaiah saw glances, Malik's fidgeting, Aisha's silence. That night, he woke to shattering glass and shouts. Flashlights pierced the dark, boots stomping. A SWAT team, armored and faceless, stormed the safe house, tear gas choking the air. "Isaiah Carter, surrender!" a voice boomed. Isaiah scrambled, grabbing his violin, but Jamal shoved him toward a back door. "Run, kid!" he yelled, coughing. Isaiah bolted, gas stinging his eyes, and dove into a sewer grate Jamal had shown him, a rusted escape route. The tunnel reeked of rot, water sloshing his ankles, but he crawled, violin case scraping concrete. Above, sirens screamed, radios crackling. Suspect fled. Isaiah emerged in an alley, soaked and shaking, the safe house a glowing inferno in the distance. His phone left behind was gone, but Marcus's last text burned in his mind. "Jamal's dirty." The climax hit like a blade. Jamal the Collective's heart had been bought by Gerald Holt. For $20,000 he'd leaked Isaiah's location, trading justice for cash. The campaign, the rallies, the family, all a trap to flush. Isaiah out. Isaiah stumbled through Akron's back streets, the violin his only companion. Dawn broke, grey and cold, as he hid in a dumpster, its stench cloaking him. The manhunt had tightened, cops and drones scouring the city. News vans broadcast the raid, calling Isaiah a radicalized fugitive, the Collective labeled a gang. Gerald Holt, on TV, played victim, claiming Isaiah's violence threatened Westbridge. The 5 million views, the donations, the hope, twisted into proof of Isaiah's danger. Tanya, still in Westbridge, was unreachable, likely under surveillance. Marcus, his lifeline, was dark, maybe caught. Isaiah's trust, battered by Ms. Brooks, now shattered. Jamal's betrayal cut deepest. A brother turned Judas. He clutched his violin, its wood warm against his palm. The safe house's fire still. Burned in his eyes, the gases bite in his lungs. Gerald Holt hadn't just framed him. He'd bought his allies, turned his defiance into a manhunt's fuel. Running was survival, but it wasn't enough. Isaiah needed a weapon sharper than music, a way to strike back before the net closed. The sewer's echo, the city's hum, pulsed like a rhythm. He could vanish, become a ghost, or fight, exposing Gerald's empire. His bow hand twitched, ready for war. Can Isaiah turn betrayal into a blade to carve his truth? Bold strike Isaiah Carter huddled in an Akron alley, the dumpster's stench his only shield from the manhunt's glare. The SWAT raid, sparked by Jamal's betrayal, had burned the safe house and his trust to ash. Gerald Holt's lies, vandalism, assault, armed and dangerous, had Ohio's cops and drones hunting him like a dog. His violin, clutched tight, was his last defiance, its strings humming with unplayed notes. Tanya, trapped in Westbridge under police watch, couldn't reach him. Marcus, his lifeline, was silent, maybe caught. Could Isaiah turn this cornered moment into a counterattack? He needed Marcus. Risking exposure, Isaiah slipped into a library, its fluorescent hum a stark contrast to the sewer's rot. Using a public computer, he sent a coded message to Marcus's dark web Dropbox, a trick they'd used before. Alive. Need you, he typed, heart pounding as a librarian glanced his way. Hours later, a reply. Safe. Meet me. Marcus, holed up in a Columbus hacker den, had dodged the cops. Isaiah hitched a ride with a trucker, violin case hidden, under a tarp, and reached the den, a graffiti-streaked loft buzzing with monitors. Marcus, eyes bloodshot, hugged him. Thought you were gone, man. Could their old bond spark a new plan? Marcus had been busy. He'd tracked Gerald Holt's digital footprint, finding a weak spot. Vernon Holt's school email poorly secured. If Gerald's dirty, Vernon's the key, Marcus said, cracking his knuckles. Isaiah, fueled by rage, agreed. They hacked in, Marcus's code slicing through firewalls like a bow through strings. The emails were a goldmine, messages from Gerald to Vernon, detailing bribes to Ms. Brooks's associate, payments to the hate group behind the alley attack, and orders to frame Isaiah for vandalism. One email chilled Isaiah's blood. Carter's a symbol. Crush him or we lose control. Gerald wasn't just a board member. He ran a network of racists, using Westbridge as a testing ground. Was this proof enough to end him? They needed reach. Marcus contacted a reporter, Sarah Klein, who'd broken the school board fraud story. Sarah, a chain-smoking investigative pitbull, met them in a diner, her notepad ready. Isaiah handed her a USB with the emails, his voice steady despite the manhunt's weight. This is who Holt really is, he said, showing a photo of his slashed violin case, the alley's scars on his face. Sarah's eyes narrowed, scanning the files. This is big, she said, but dangerous. Gerald's connected. She published the exposé that night, titled Holt's Hate Empire, linking Gerald to bribes, the hate group, and Isaiah's framing. It hit 1 million views in hours, trending nationwide. Protests erupted in Westbridge, crowds chanting justice for Isaiah. Could this be the blow that frees him? It was. The FBI, pressured by the outcry, launched an investigation. Gerald's Board allies distanced themselves, his office raided. Westbridge High's principal, cornered, cleared Isaiah's record, citing new evidence. The vandalism charge dropped. The manhunt called off. Isaiah, still hiding, saw his face on newsstands, not as a fugitive, but a hero. Marcus's den erupted in cheers, hackers toasting with energy drinks. Isaiah called Tanya, her voice cracking through static. "Come home, baby." He hitched back to Westbridge, violin in hand, and walked into their house. Tanya's hug erasing weeks of fear. The orchestra reinstated him, fans donating $50,000 for his future. Had Isaiah finally won? He hadn't. That night, Isaiah slept in his own bed, the violin's case by his side, its wood a quiet comfort. A buzz woke him. His phone, a blocked number. He answered, and Vernon Holt's voice, low and venomous, hissed through, "You think you're safe, boy?" Isaiah's blood froze. "Check the garage." Heart hammering, he crept downstairs, the house dark. The garage door creaked open, revealing Tanya's car. Empty, its windshield smashed, a note taped to the hood. "Retract the story, or she's dead." Isaiah sprinted to Tanya's room. She was gone, her phone on the pillow, a photo of her bound and gagged flashing on the screen. Holt's voice returned, "Warehouse on 5th, come alone." The climax slammed home. Vernon Holt, unhinged by the exposé, had kidnapped Tanya, demanding Isaiah kill the truth to save her. Isaiah stood frozen, the note crumpling in his fist. The exposé, the protests, his cleared name, all hollow without. Tanya. Westbridge's streets, once a manhunt's maze, now led to a new trap. Gerald's empire was cracking, but Vernon's rage burned hotter, a personal vendetta. Isaiah grabbed his violin, its weight grounding him, and slipped into the night. 5th Street's warehouses looming like tombs. He could call the cops, risk Tanya's life, or face Holt alone, a kid with a bow against a madman's gun. His music had exposed the truth, but now it was just him and the dark. Drop a number 1 in the comments if you think Isaiah should risk everything to save his mom, and hit like and subscribe to see his next desperate gamble. Will Isaiah outwit Holt's deadly trap, or walk into a slaughter? Heart-pounding chase. Isaiah Carter's sneakers crunched gravel outside the 5th Street warehouse, the Ohio night thick with the stench of oil and rust. Vernon Holt's voice echoed in his skull. "Retract the story or she's dead." And the image of Tanya, bound and gagged, seared his mind. His violin case, slung over his shoulder, was a strange comfort, its weight grounding him as he faced a madman's trap. Westbridge slept, unaware of the war raging in its shadows. Gerald Holt's empire was crumbling, but Vernon's kidnapping of Tanya was a desperate, deadly gambit. Could Isaiah save her without losing everything? The warehouse loomed, a hulking, steel skeleton with broken windows glinting like teeth. Isaiah circled, heart hammering, spotting a rusted side door. Holt's note demanded he come alone, no cops, but Isaiah wasn't naive. He texted Marcus, now back in Westbridge, a single line, 5th Street warehouse. "If I'm not out in an hour, call help." Marcus's reply was instant. "Got you." Isaiah slipped inside, the door creaking, darkness swallowing him. The air was damp, heavy with the tang of metal. His phone's flashlight caught dust motes, crates stacked high, and a faint whimper. Tanya. Was she close, or was Holt baiting him? He crept forward, violin case bumping his hip, every shadow a threat. Holt had rigged the place, tripwires glinted, tied to cans that'd clatter if touched. Isaiah's pulse roared, but he moved like a ghost, dodging wires, his alley running. Instincts sharp. A glow flickered ahead, a lantern on a crate illuminating Tanya tied to a chair, duct tape over her mouth. Her eyes, wide with fear, locked on him. Isaiah's throat tightened, but he scanned for Holt. A click echoed, a gun's hammer. Vernon Holt stepped from the dark, his teacher's tie gone, replaced by a wild grin and a pistol. "You're predictable." "Boy," he sneered, slurring a racial epithet. Could Isaiah outsmart a man unhinged by hate? Holt ranted, pacing, gun waving. "Your little exposé ruined us, but you'll fix it. Say you lied or she's done." Isaiah's mind raced, eyes darting. Tanya's chair was near a stack of barrels, one marked flammable. A plan sparked. He raised his hands, voice calm. "I'll retract it, Vernon, just let her go." Holt laughed, stepping closer, gun steady. Isaiah edged toward the barrels, feigning surrender. "You're nothing," Holt spat. "A black kid with a toy violin thinking you're special." Isaiah's fingers brushed his case, the latch loose. He needed a distraction, now. He lunged, swinging the violin case at Holt's wrist. The gun clattered, Holt cursing, and Isaiah dove for Tanya, ripping the tape off her mouth. She gasped, "Run!" But Holt recovered, tackling Isaiah. Fists flew. Holt's heavier frame pinning him, knuckles cracking Isaiah's jaw. Pain exploded, blood flooding his mouth. But Isaiah kneed Holt's gut, breaking free. He grabbed a pipe from the floor, swinging it at Holt's knee. The teacher howled, collapsing, and Isaiah untied Tanya, her wrists raw. They stumbled toward the door, barrels toppling behind them. A spark from Holt's dropped lantern igniting a flame. Was the warehouse about to become their tomb? Fire licked the barrels, smoke choking the air. Isaiah pulled Tanya through the side door, her limp slowing. Them. Sirens wailed. Marcus had called the cops. They burst into the night, flames roaring behind, and squad cars screeched up, lights blinding. Holt staggered out, burned but alive, screaming, "He attacked me!" Cops swarmed, cuffing him, his gun and Tanya's ropes undeniable evidence. Paramedics checked Tanya, her pulse strong, and Isaiah hugged her, tears mixing with blood. Holt was arrested, charged with kidnapping, his rants ignored. News vans arrived, cameras flashing, calling Isaiah a hero. Had he finally stopped the Holts? He hadn't. 2 days later, Isaiah and Tanya were home, bandages fresh, the violin safe. Social media crowned him. Isaiah Saves Mom trended. 10 million views, donations hitting $70,000. The orchestra sent flowers. Westbridge High offered counseling. Isaiah practiced, his new violin's notes a salve. Tanya's laughter, filling their patched-up house. Then Marcus burst in, face pale, phone in hand. "You're not going to believe this," he said, showing a news alert. The Westbridge Community Center, Isaiah's old practice spot, had been bombed. Shattered glass. Twisted steel. 5 kids injured, 1 in a coma. The headline screamed, "Carter's campaign sparks violence." Isaiah's stomach plummeted. Bombing? His campaign? The report twisted it all. The hate group, leaderless after Vernon's arrest and Gerald's indictment, had struck, their manifesto naming Isaiah's exposé as incitement. A blurred photo from the safehouse raid, Isaiah fleeing, captioned him a radical. Westbridge police, still thick with Holt allies, issued a new warrant. Isaiah Carter, wanted for questioning in terrorist act. The bombing wasn't his fault, but Gerald's network had flipped the script, painting his defiance as a fuse. Tanya cursed, grabbing her phone, but cops were already outside, lights flashing. Isaiah's hero status, his mother's rescue, all warped into a lie. He grabbed his violin, mind racing. Surrender meant a cell, running meant more shadows. Isaiah slipped out the back. Tanya's whisper, "Stay safe," his only anchor. Westbridge's streets, once his home, were a hunter's maze again. The community center's ruins a mile away smoked in his mind, kids' screams echoing. Gerald's empire, even fractured, struck harder than ever, turning Isaiah's truth into terror. His violin slung over his shoulder felt heavier, its music drowned by sirens. He could hide, vanish into Ohio's sprawl, or fight a war where every move fed their lies. The night closed in, cold and merciless. Can Isaiah run fast enough to escape a lie that brands him a terrorist? All or nothing gamble. Isaiah Carter crouched in a rural Ohio cabin, the pine walls creaking under a bitter wind, his violin case his only shield against the darkness. The community center bombing, pinned on him by a vengeful hate group, had reignited. The manhunt, Westbridge police branding him a terrorist. Tanya, safe but under surveillance, couldn't help. Marcus, gone dark after the warrant, was a ghost. Isaiah's face, once a hero's, now haunted every screen, a lie twisting his rescue of Tanya into chaos. Could he turn this exile into a final stand? The cabin, a hunter's shack 30 miles from Westbridge, belonged to Marcus's uncle, a recluse who'd left it empty. Isaiah had hitchhiked, dodging drones, his violin slung like a rifle. Inside, the air smelled of dust and sap, a single bulb flickering. His phone, a burner from a gas station, had one bar, enough to check the news. The bombing dominated. 5 kids hurt. The hate group's manifesto screaming his name. Comments online were brutal. Carter's a menace. Jail him. Yet some fought back, fans from his crowdfunding days posting, "Justice for Isaiah." Their voices faint but real. Isaiah gripped his violin, its strings cold. Was there a way to amplify the truth? He needed a platform. Marcus, before going silent, had sent a link to a secure streaming app used by activists to evade censors. Isaiah sat up in the cabin's corner, propping the phone on a crate, his face shadowed by a hoodie. He recorded a live stream, voice raw, detailing every blow. Vernon Holt's auditorium sneer, the vandalism, the alley attack, Gerald's bribes, Tanya's kidnapping, the bombing's lie. "I'm no terrorist," he said, holding his violin. "I'm a kid who played too well for their hate." He played a single note, sharp and haunting, then uploaded it. The app's encryption kept cops at bay, but Isaiah knew the risk. Gerald's network was watching. The stream exploded, 10 million views in hours shared from Cleveland to Chicago. Protests flared. Hundreds outside Westbridge's City Hall, signs reading "Free Isaiah." The FBI, already probing Gerald, escalated, raiding his office again. News broke. Gerald Holt indicted for racketeering, tied to the hate group's funds. His board seat was gone, his allies scattering. Isaiah, checking the burner, saw his warrant lifted, the bombing charge questioned. Fans donated $80,000, calling him a symbol. Tanya texted from a neighbor's phone. "You did it, baby," Isaiah exhaled, the cabin's chill easing. Had his voice finally shattered Gerald's empire? It hadn't. As the stream hit 15 million views, the app glitched, Isaiah's screen freezing. A new feed hijacked it. Vernon Holt's face, gaunt. From jail, eyes wild. "Carter's lying," he screamed, broadcasting from a hidden device. The stream flipped to a map. Isaiah's cabin pinned in real time, coordinates flashing. "He's here, finish him." Holt's voice cut out, but the damage was done. The hate group, fueled by Gerald's cash, saw it. Within minutes, engines roared outside, headlights piercing the cabin's slats. Isaiah's heart stopped. A mob, 20 strong, armed with bats, chains, torches. They chanted slurs, bottles smashing, gasoline splashing the walls. Could Isaiah escape a trap set by a desperate Holt? He grabbed his violin, mind racing. The cabin had one exit, blocked by the mob. Flames licked the porch, smoke curling under. The door. Isaiah pried up a floorboard, a trick Marcus's uncle had mentioned, a crawl space to a ditch. He squeezed through, violin case scraping, dirt clogging his lungs. The mob's shouts grew louder, a torch igniting the roof. Isaiah crawled, elbows bleeding, emerging in a ditch 50 yards away. The cabin blazed, a pyre of his hope, as the mob circled, unaware he'd slipped free. Sirens wailed, too far to help. Isaiah ran, woods swallowing him, his burns stinging. Violin intact. He stumbled through pines, the fire's glow fading, his breath ragged. The live stream, his triumph, had led the mob to him. Vernon's hack, a final twist of the knife. Gerald's indictment, the protests, the donations, all overshadowed by this new threat. Tanya, safe for now, couldn't know he'd survived. Marcus, wherever he was, might think him dead. Westbridge, Ohio, the world, they'd see the burning cabin, assume Isaiah gone. The hate group, emboldened, would hunt harder, Gerald's shadow still long. Isaiah's violin, scarred but whole, pressed against his chest. He could vanish, a ghost in the woods, or fight, his music a beacon. How long can Isaiah run before the mob's flames catch him? Final stand. Isaiah Carter's lungs burned as he stumbled through Ohio's pine woods, the glow of the torched cabin fading behind him. The hate group's mob, spurred by Vernon Holt's hacked livestream, had nearly roasted him alive, their slurs and torches a fresh scar. His violin, clutched tight, was his last tether to sanity, its case scraped but unbroken. Tanya, safe in Westbridge, thought him dead, the news screaming, "Fugitive lost in fire." Marcus, still dark, couldn't help. Gerald Holt's indictment offered hope, but Vernon's hate group raged on. Could Isaiah turn this hunted moment into a killing blow? He needed a target. The woods spit him onto a rural road, stars sharp above. His burner phone, low on juice, caught a signal, and he checked. A dark web forum Marcus had once shared. A post from the hate group bragged about a rally tomorrow night, a stand for Westbridge, at an abandoned factory 10 miles away. Vernon Holt, out on bail, would speak, rallying his followers to cleanse the town. Isaiah's jaw clenched. Vernon, the man who'd kidnapped Tanya, was doubling down. A plan sparked. Infiltrate, expose, end it. Was this suicide or his last chance? Isaiah hitched to a truck stop, blending into the neon-lit crowd, his hoodie hiding burns. A trucker, grizzled but kind, dropped him near the factory. No questions asked. The site was a rusted maze, smokestacks clawing the sky, perfect for sneaking. Isaiah scouted, finding a side gate, its lock brittle. He'd need evidence, something undeniable. From his violin case he pulled a mini camera, a gift from Aisha at the safe house before Jamal's betrayal. Its battery was full, lens sharp. If he could plant it during Vernon's speech, catch him confessing, the world would see. Could a kid with a camera topple a hate machine? The rally night was cold, the factory's lot packed with 50 men, their trucks circling, Confederate flags snapping in the wind. Isaiah slipped through the gate, heart pounding, the camera taped to his chest under his jacket. He blended in, head low, mimicking their slouch. Torches lit the crowd, faces twisted with rage chanting, "Take it back!" Vernon Holt took the stage, a makeshift platform of crates, his teacher's polish gone, eyes feverish. "Carter's dead," he roared, "but his kind keep coming." The crowd cheered, and Isaiah's stomach churned, his burns throbbing. He edged closer, slipping the camera into a gap between crates, its red light hidden. Was Vernon reckless enough to bury himself? Holt was. His speech spiraled, venom spilling. "I bombed the center," he bragged, voice cracking. "I paid the group, bribed the lawyer, framed the kid, Gerald's money, my plan." The crowd roared, unaware Isaiah's camera caught every word. Isaiah's pulse raced. This was it. The confession to end them. He synced the camera to his burner, streaming live to Marcus's old activist server, praying it reached the world. The feed hit, views climbing, 10,000, 50,000, a million. Protests reignited, FBI alerts pinged, news vans racing. Isaiah backed away, ready to bolt, but the crowd's mood shifted. A man pointed, shouting, "That's him!" Had his cover blown? It had. A rally-goer, one of Vernon's students, recognized Isaiah's hoodie from the auditorium. The mob turned, bats raised, eyes wild. Isaiah sprinted, violin case banging his hip as torches flew, glass shattering. He dove through a factory window, glass cutting his palms, and ran through rusted halls, footsteps thundering behind. His camera, still streaming, showed the chase, comments exploding. "Save Isaiah." Cops arrived outside, drawn by the stream, but the mob was faster. Isaiah climbed a stairwell, reaching the roof, the night air biting. Below, the crowd surged, Vernon screaming, "Finish him!" Isaiah gripped his violin, ripping it from its case, and played, a defiant, soaring melody, notes cutting the chaos. The crowd froze, some filming, as police megaphones blared, "Drop your weapons!" The cops stormed in, cuffing Vernon mid-rant, his confession looping online, 20 million views and climbing. The mob scattered, some arrested, others fleeing. Isaiah kept playing, blood dripping from his hands, until a cop tackled him, not for arrest but safety. The stream ended, but its impact didn't. Vernon's rearrest was national news, charged with bombing, bribery, conspiracy. Isaiah, cleared again, was driven to Tanya, their reunion tear-soaked, her nurse's grip fierce. The orchestra called, begging him back. Yet the climax struck. A new hate campaign, funded by an unknown donor, spread online, vowing to erase Carter's kind. Comments surged. "He'll never be safe." Isaiah's violin, still in hand, felt heavier. Vernon was down, but the war wasn't over. Can Isaiah's music outlast a hate that refuses to die? All or nothing gamble. Isaiah Carter crouched in a rural Ohio cabin, the pine walls creaking under a bitter wind, his violin case his only shield against the darkness. The community center bombing, pinned on him by a vengeful hate group, had reignited. The manhunt, Westbridge police branding him a terrorist. Tanya, safe but under surveillance, couldn't help. Marcus, gone dark after the warrant, was a ghost. Isaiah's face, once a hero's, now haunted every screen, a lie twisting his rescue of Tanya into chaos. Could he turn this exile into a final stand? The cabin, a hunter's shack 30 miles from Westbridge, belonged to Marcus's uncle, a recluse who'd left it empty. Isaiah had hitchhiked, dodging drones, his violin slung like a rifle. Inside, the air smelled of dust and sap, a single bulb flickering. His phone, a burner from a gas station, had one bar, enough to check the news. The bombing dominated, 5 kids hurt, the hate group's manifesto screaming his name. Comments online were brutal. Carter's a menace, jail him. Yet some fought back, fans from his crowdfunding days posting justice for Isaiah, their voices faint but real. Isaiah gripped his violin, its strings cold. Was there a way to amplify the truth? He needed a platform. Marcus, before going silent, had sent a link to a secure streaming app, used by activists to evade censors. Isaiah sat up in the cabin's corner, propping the phone on a crate, his face shadowed by a hoodie. He recorded a live stream, voice raw, detailing every blow: Vernon Holt's auditorium sneer, the vandalism, the alley attack, Gerald's bribes, Tanya's kidnapping, the bombing's lie. "I'm no terrorist," he said, holding his violin. "I'm a kid who played too well for their hate." He played a single note, sharp and haunting, then uploaded it. The app's encryption kept cops at bay, but Isaiah knew the risk. Gerald's network was watching. The stream exploded, 10 million views in hours, shared from Cleveland to Chicago. Protests flared. Hundreds outside Westbridge's City Hall, signs reading "Free Isaiah." The FBI, already probing Gerald, escalated, raiding his office again. News broke. Gerald Holt indicted for racketeering, tied to the hate group's funds. His board seat was gone, his allies scattering. Isaiah, checking the burner, saw his warrant lifted, the bombing charge questioned. Fans donated $80,000, calling him a symbol. Tanya texted from a neighbor's phone. "You did it, baby." Isaiah exhaled, the cabin's chill easing. Had his voice finally shattered Gerald's empire? It hadn't. As the stream hit 15 million views, the app glitched, Isaiah's screen freezing. A new feed hijacked it. Vernon Holt's face, gaunt. From jail, eyes wild. "Carter's lying," he screamed, broadcasting from a hidden device. The stream flipped to a map. Isaiah's cabin pinned in real time, coordinates flashing. "He's here, finish him." Holt's voice cut out, but the damage was done. The hate group, fueled by Gerald's cash, saw it. Within minutes, engines roared outside, headlights piercing the cabin's slats. Isaiah's heart stopped. A mob, 20 strong, armed with bats, chains, torches. They chanted slurs, bottles smashing, gasoline splashing the walls. Could Isaiah escape a trap set by a desperate Holt? He grabbed his violin, mind racing. The cabin had one exit, blocked by the mob. Flames licked the porch, smoke curling under. The door. Isaiah pried up a floorboard, a trick Marcus's uncle had mentioned, a crawl space to a ditch. He squeezed through, violin case scraping, dirt clogging his lungs. The mob's shouts grew louder, a torch igniting the roof. So Isaiah crawled, elbows bleeding, emerging in a ditch 50 yards away. The cabin blazed, a pyre of his hope as the mob circled, unaware he'd slipped free. Sirens wailed, too far to help. Isaiah ran, woods swallowing him, his burns stinging. Violin intact. He stumbled through pines, the fire's glow fading, his breath ragged. The live stream, his triumph, had led the mob to him. Vernon's hack, a final twist of the knife. Gerald's indictment, the protests, the donations, all overshadowed by this new threat. Tanya, safe for now, couldn't know he'd survived. Marcus, wherever he was, might think him dead. Westbridge, Ohio, the world, they'd see the burning cabin, assume Isaiah gone. The hate group, emboldened, would hunt harder, Gerald's shadow still long. Isaiah's violin, scarred but whole, pressed against his chest. He could vanish, a ghost in the woods or fight, his music a beacon. How long can Isaiah run before the mob's flames catch him? Isaiah Carter's journey in Strings of Defiance teaches us resilience against systemic racism's relentless grind. A black teen mocked by a racist teacher, Isaiah's violin became his sword, slicing through lies, violence, and betrayal. From a humiliating auditorium stage to a billionaire's hate crusade, he faced escalating injustices, vandalism, assaults, frame-ups, yet never stopped playing. His story shows that talent and truth can shake empires, but the fight demands unwavering grit. Racism, embodied by Vernon and Gerald Holt, morphs and strikes back, using power to silence. Isaiah's defiance, turning pain into music, proves one voice can spark millions, but it also warns that victories are fragile. The billionaire's note, "We're watching," signals hate's persistence, a shadow no stage can outshine. We learn to stand firm, like Isaiah, using our gifts, to challenge oppression, but also to brace for the next blow. His bow still ready reminds us to keep fighting, even when the crowd turns. What's your weapon against injustice? How do you rise when hate pushes back? Drop a comment with number 1 if you'd fight like Isaiah, hit like, subscribe, and share to amplify his story. Thank you for joining this journey. Your support fuels truth. Here's wishing you courage to play your own defiant notes, shaking the world with every chord.